Hi and welcome to the latest Ask Johnsy. Today we're going to look at the best locations for purpose-built student accommodation. Now this is very subjective. I mean, I'm an agent, so I'm going to tell you where I'm selling, but there's a real reason, and I'll give you a bit of background to why we've selected these certain locations. Previously, in the market, there's generally the student properties that everybody's selling. Every agent's listing them, and they're just basically they'll pick a large city that's a good student city, a plot of land within a few miles of the university, and they'll build, and everybody will sell it. That's not the way we wanted to operate, because we noticed that there were a lot of instances where student properties were being built, and there really wasn't the market for the rents. This is a supply and demand market, and over the last few years we've seen Sheffield, Glasgow and Liverpool become oversupplied, and written about in the media. It's just not me just saying that. If you do a search on student accommodation in Liverpool at the moment, you will find thousands and thousands of examples. And you will also notice that a lot of student lets are now offering students a 42-week year as opposed to the traditional 51-52 week, which further cuts your earnings as an investor. There's a lot of developments out there that were promising 7-8% returns, and you may get that for the first 3 years if the developer honours what he's promised you. However, after those 3 years or 5 years, whatever you signed up to be receiving guarantees for, it's going to drop off significantly, and that's not something you want as an investor. So look at the current supply, look at the current demand, look at the future potential as well. Are there investment plans? Is there likely to be growth in the university? The biggest piece of advice I've got for you in this area is to avoid the large cities. Large cities have other options. If you look at somewhere like Liverpool or Manchester, there are thousands and thousands of HMO properties. There are thousands and thousands of residential, well-priced residential developments where students can stay, as well as the purpose-built student accommodation. So you're really into a market where you're fighting against a lot of other people for that rental market. And that's all very well and good. I mean, you can have, if you're in the best location, then you might still get that market, but it's far better being in a market where you're not having to fight against others for that market. And areas that we've noticed where this is happening is Preston for the University of Central Lancashire and Keele, which are areas that we've identified are hotspots for student property where there is a huge deficit. The universities are having to bus people in from outside the area in many circumstances. So finally, don't just look at a market. Don't just say, well, I'm going to buy a property for students in Manchester. It's a matter of micro markets, not markets. So you want to be in a micro market, a particular market close to or that's good for students. So that's my advice on the best locations for purpose-built student accommodation. Focus on your supply and demand, particularly look at where the market's going, and concentrate on that property as being just a student property, not for residential use. A lot of people go into the market and say, well, I'm going to buy in a big city because if my rental market doesn't work for students, I'll start renting it out to the residential market. It's never going to happen. For a start, if you've got students in a building, young professionals aren't going to want to be in there. Secondly, most purpose-built student accommodation buildings are zoned for student use, so you cannot rent them out on a residential basis. And that's all I've got on the best locations for purpose-built student accommodation. Thank you. Thank you for watching Ask Johnsy. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments box below or email us at askjohnsy, all one word, at residential-estates.co.uk. If you find this video useful, click on the like and subscribe buttons below. You will also find our contact details below. See you on the next Ask Johnsy.